Hi there, my name is Browne and welcome to my show. Today I wanted to take a nostalgic back look on and review The Legend of Dragoon for the PS1. So I have a lot of memories with this game, playing it with my friends and on my own for a large majority of my life. I never beat the game as a kid, but I remember getting to disc 4, which was a pretty big achievement for me back in the day. I was never really good at RPGs. I loved to play them, but I never could get that far. I hated level grinding and could only get to a certain point until I would just give up. But I loved the story and I loved the plot, especially to this game. So yeah, I always really liked it as a kid, and let's just see if it still holds up today. So, The Legend of Dragoon was developed by Sony Computer Entertainment. It was released in Japan December 2nd, 1999, and was released in North America June 11th, 2000. It was directed by Yasuyuki Hasibe. When the game first came out, it got mixed reviews. I'm not really sure why this was. I always really liked it as a kid, and I played lots of other RPGs as a kid. To me, this one kind of just fell into the world of really awesome RPGs. I don't know why it got mixed reviews when it initially came out. But over time, it's kind of started to develop a bit of a cult following. It's not a crazy cult following like Earthbound or Chrono Trigger, but definitely has gotten a following of people that really support it. It did sell enough copies to get a greatest hits release, but there was never a sequel to ever come out. There was plans of one to come out, but for some reason the director decided to stop it and never really gave out any reasons why. It did get a PSN release in Japan December 22nd, 2010. And in North America on May 1st, 2012. There's nothing else to really come out of this game. A while back there was planned that the main character Dart would be a playable character for the game PlayStation Battle All-Stars. I guess Sony was really digging deep to try and find some playable IPs for that game, but that never even happened either, so this game is really all that's ever come out of it, and it's kind of a shame because it's a really cool story with really cool characters I would have loved to have seen more from. So the game starts with your main character Dart returning home from his travels. He was trying to find this creature called the Black Monster, which when he was a kid, this black monster came to his village, destroying everything, burning it all, and killing both of his parents, leaving him as an orphan. He was unable to find the Black Monster, so he decides to return home to find that his new village is also getting attacked. So he rushes quickly back as soon as he can, and he finds out that his long friend Shauna, his love interest in the game, has been kidnapped for some strange reason and he's not sure why. So he decides to take it upon himself to go find her and rescue her. Along the way, he meets tons of other people and he starts to build a party. He does end up saving her pretty early on in the game, but he continues the quest to try and find out who kidnapped her and why did they want to take her in the first place. The story gets pretty good later on, and there's tons of really good plot twists that still shock me today. There's stuff that I completely forgot about. So the gameplay for this game is pretty much what you would expect out of an RPG from this era. It's your standard turn-based RPG with items that heal your health or revive you, or there's antidote-like items. Pretty much what you would expect from a late 90s, early 2000 RPG for the PS1. A lot of RPGs for this time had to try and do something that was different and unique to try and make it stand out from all the other ones. And this one tried to do that with its combat. It had a couple things that were similar and felt familiar to other RPGs, but also tried to branch out and do its own thing, which for the time, when it came out, was probably pretty revolutionary, but for now, kind of feel a little cumbersome or kind of drag out the battles a bit. So basically, when you start off your physical attacks, you have what's called additions. And what they look like is there's a square in the middle of your screen with a line that gets closer to it. Once the line gets close to the square and flashes, you have to press X and you'll land a hit. Then you'll have to do this again and again, and you'll start developing a combo and adding more and more damage to your attack. There's multiple different additions that you can unlock, and by leveling up each addition, you unlock a new addition. So your additions get pretty stronger as they keep going on, and can get pretty difficult to try and match up. This works pretty well and it gets pretty interesting. You have to really pay attention to each battle and make sure that you're doing everything correctly, or it could drag out a simple battle that should take no more than one hit, can make it last 4 turns. Another big thing that they had that changed it up in this combat for this game was the Dragoon Mode. Pretty much it's kind of like your typical summon from a Final Fantasy, but what it does is it upgrades your character. So you get new armor and new weapons, and new physical and magical attacks. Each Dragoon has their own element, so there's like your Fire Dragoon, your Water Dragoon, and so on and so forth. Each Dragoon will have its own strong physical attacks, as well as their own personal magical attacks, which really help your battles a lot and become very useful. Other than that, they also have this guard option, which becomes pretty useful. Basically what it does is, if you don't want to physically attack someone, you don't want to waste an item, you don't want to waste your Dragoon power, you don't know what else to do, you could always use your guard option. And what that does is it raises your defense by 50% and also heals you up a little bit. So that also becomes very helpful. So as well as the gameplay being what you would expect from an RPG from this era, the visuals are also pretty much what you would expect from an RPG of this era. It has pre-rendered backgrounds with polygon sprites, which isn't really a bad thing because I'm personally a really big fan of these types of visuals. There's so many really cool different landscapes throughout this entire game. There's like a forest area, a desert area, a mountain area, a snow area, a fire area, beachy summery area, and it really makes you feel like you're going on this huge epic quest across the entire Earth. Also, I noticed on the beach areas, whenever they have like water or something, the sun rippling effects that they have on the big bodies of water looks really, really nice. Also throughout the game, what you'd expect is a few CG cutscenes, which they do have. And the CG looks great. It's nothing amazing, but it's nothing underwhelming either. It's pretty much what you would expect to see yet again. But one thing I did notice is that the voice acting is terrible. The voice acting in this game is not good at all, but that's kind of funny about it. It's like watching a B-grade movie. It kind of just throws in a bit of humor when everything's all serious, but that doesn't really hinder the game from being as good as it can be. The music for this game is also something that I can highly praise it for. It has live orchestral and just instruments throughout the entire soundtrack, and it really helps bring the vibe that it was going for. There's whole kinds of different types of feel that you'll get from the soundtrack from this game. There's chill soundtracks for when you're on like a nice beach, relaxing, meeting people from the villages and just talking about things and learning all their backgrounds and all their different stories. But then there's also high energy soundtracks, which you'll need for those battles and when things get real serious in the story. Another thing to point out is that the battle theme never really gets annoying, and that's a very, very good thing. When you're playing an RPG and constantly level grinding and level grinding and level grinding and spending hours just battling and battling and battling, it helps when the soundtrack that you're hearing throughout this entire experience isn't something that you hate and dread by the end of the first 2 hours of the game. The soundtrack was composed by Dennis Martin and Takio Miratsu. Sorry for butchering that. So yeah, overall I had a really, really good experience with this game. It has an interesting story that had tons of plot twists that I didn't expect throughout it, and really, really cool characters. That's another big point of why I like this game so much. Each character starts to develop their own backstory, or it comes out throughout the game, and that also never makes the game boring. There wasn't a whole much of this game that felt like a lull time that I was kind of just like, oh, whatever, hurry up and get it over with. The whole game pretty much felt exciting and interesting to watch and listen to. I would say if you do choose to play this game, play it on a TV with no lag at all, because using the additions for the physical combat, if you're screwing that up because you have lag on your TV and you think you're hitting it right, but you're screwing it up constantly, it's going to drag out every single battle and you're going to get frustrated very quickly. I wouldn't say that this is the best RPG to get for the PS1, but I don't think it's the worst either. And I don't think it's average. I think it fits in that point between above average and the best. It shouldn't be called the best RPG, but it should belong up there with some really good honorable mentions. And it's definitely worth the $40 price point that I think it still is at. When I looked at it last on eBay and at a couple stores, I noticed it for around $30. If it's gone up past that, I wouldn't pay $50 to $60 for it. Also, if you want, pretty sure it's still on sale on the PSN for about $10. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that's what it's for. But yeah, if you're an RPG fan for games of this era, you'll feel comfortable with it and still have a really, really good time with it, and I definitely recommend it. So the game starts with your main character, Dart, returning home from his trip. Okay, it's gotta loosen up. Whatever, just talk. But yeah, the story of this game is really good. The characters are awesome. The gameplay is never too boring, and it always seems to... Fuck. Which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I'm personally a really big fan of this type of... Another thing to point out is that the battle theme...